Call to order the 38th meeting of the Mayor and City Council meeting in regular session on Wednesday, October 16th, 2019. I'd like everyone to rise as the Mayor leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Laurel, would you please call the roll?
Mr. DeWalt?
Here.
Mr. Sidnor?
Here.
Ms. Nicholas?
Here.
Mr. Les?
Here.
President Smalls?
Here.
Mayor Mo?
Agenda item 2 is approval of the minutes of the 36th meeting of Monday, September 9th, 2019. Council, I'll entertain a motion if there are no edits or additions or deletion.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Laurel, please call for the vote.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. Agenda item 2B is approval of the minutes of the work session on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. Again, Council, if there are no changes, edits, or deletions, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes work session October 2nd, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Laurel, please call the roll.
Sidnor?
Yes.
DeWalt?
Yes.
Nicholas?
Yes.
Les?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. Agenda item 3A is report of the Mayor and City Council. I will begin tonight with Councilman DeWalt.
Good evening, everyone. Last 3 days, I attended the Maryland Municipal League Conference in Cambridge, Maryland. I thought I was close to getting and possibly graduating from the Academy of Excellence for Local Governance. And I'm one class short now, I found out. So I'll have to wait till the summer conference in Ocean City to achieve that. I found an interesting fact today, since we are part of a lawsuit against the opioid manufacturers, that in the last 4 years, it cost all the state and federal and municipalities and every jurisdiction $631 billion over the past 4 years. And I think some of the settlements that I'm hearing coming from these distributors and these manufacturers is somewhere around $14 billion. So they're still going to be well over of what they've actually did in the lives that they've taken because of these opioids. The other day I went with my neighbor Ken, and I met Jim Cross up at Ivy Hill. When they dig graves up at Ivy Hill, they put them in the back by the police memorial on the side of it. The dirt, rock, and even trees. And what it's doing is it's causing sediment to go over the hill down into a small creek down there that goes into the Patuxent River. So Ken informed me today that the board of directors at Ivy Hill have approved some sort of It's a fencing that they put up to catch the sediment, which will stop it from going into the water system itself. Two other things I'd like to highlight is one's a charity and one's a business just outside of the city, but it has an impact over the whole state of Maryland. The first one is Laurel's, and their impact for fiscal year 2019, 64,178 pounds of food donated, 232 amazing volunteers, 2,429 volunteer hours, 887 households served, 6,746 bags of food distributed, 79 evictions prevented, 373 holiday wish lists fulfilled. 25 adults and 13 children went from living on the streets in shelters and cars or other unsafe conditions to living in their own apartments in Laurel. 7 households received one-on-one mentoring to improve financial habits and life skills. All participants are now working 40 hours a week. I want to remind everybody that on Thanksgiving Day, they have their annual turkey trot. And I believe last year there was over 900 runners there, and they raised close to $60,000. So if you're free early Thanksgiving morning, please join and come to the turkey trot. The other thing that's happening this weekend is the Maryland Million, and this is some of the statistics from the horse racing industry around the state of Maryland. There's 79,000 horses, 587,000 acres of dedicated to the horses, $5.6 billion in assets, 1.6 billion annual economic impact, more horses per square mile than any other state, and Maryland is one of only 3 states boasting thoroughbreds as a dominant breed. That's all I have tonight.
Councilman Sidnor.
Thank you, Mr. President. On September 29th, I graduated from the Academy for Excellent Local Government, and pretty much that's an academy that teaches new elected officials like myself. I learned how to be an elected official. It was a very interesting course. I completed it on time in 2 years, so I think that's a great accomplishment, so I'll pat myself on the back. On October the 1st, I attended the Task Force of Homeless, the task force the mayor assigned to address the issues on homelessness in Laurel. We also attended, what happened on October 1st? I forgot already. The swearing in of new Laurel police officers. I attended that ceremony, so congratulations to I think it was 5 new officers that we swore in on October the 1st. So that's a good accomplishment as well for those new officers. Welcome to the Laurel Police Department. And as I was walking in the communities past a couple of weeks, one of the neighbors came up to me. I knocked on his door and we was talking. He was talking about the taxes being high in Prince George County. And I was saying, well, we haven't raised the taxes in Laurel since I've been on the council. And he's like, yeah, but the tax is still high. And so he was went on and just talking and talking. I just listened to him, and he bought me his bill and showed me the tax and everything. But he kept on talking and talking. And I was saying, he said, I'm moving to Florida. And I said, I hope you can stay in here in Laurel. He said, but one thing I'm going to say about Laurel, and I think the police department will be very fond of this. He said the police officers are very professional. They do a great job. So I just want to commend Chief Hamlin and all the police officers in Laurel that people are talking about the professional services you guys are doing here in the city, even though they say the taxes are still high in our county. But yeah, so that concludes my report, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Councilwoman Nicholas.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to congratulate you, Keith, on your graduation. I attended the open house for the Laurel Volunteer Firefighters. It was well attended, and they provided a lot of good information. I also attended the fire department's awards banquet, and I'd like to congratulate everyone who received awards that night. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Councilman Les.
Thank you, Mr. President. As Councilwoman Nicholas indicated, we attended the open house at the fire department, and there was a lot of good information there. I think they said they had over 300 people stop in. And then we attended the awards banquet, and I'm sure the mayor will say more about that, but I want to just recognize that Mr. Blankenship, Mr. Sellner got their 50-year pins, which is quite an achievement. So congratulations to them. I had an opportunity to go to the hatchery for fish that one of the two that the state has. And Mike McLaughlin from the city of Laurel went with me. And we got a nice tour. And I think Mike and I are going to try and put something together for the children, fourth grade at St. Mary's and Laurel Elementary School, when they come to put the fish in the upper part of the river. It's quite interesting. 38 different kinds of fish they've raised over the years there. I want to thank the citizens that have stopped and talked to me this last week. It's been interesting. And what, Kate, why don't you come up to the podium there? Kate with us tonight is working on citizenship, community, merit badge requirement, Eagle Scout. Told me he's got over 20 already. So he's well on his way, and he's only 15. I suggest get it before you're 18 because it's more and more difficult to do that. So congratulations, Kate. Good. Uh-oh.
Come from behind, Mike, come from the podium. I'm sorry.
There we go. Thanks. So, Carol will give you the minute. This is from the mayor. City. Yeah. Okay, yeah. And look through 1250.
You want to say a couple of words? Yeah, come on up.
I want to say thank you for the speech and for the key. And I hope that I will get eager and you guys can come see my coronation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Les. I'm going to be brief. I, along with my colleagues, attended the Maryland Municipal League's legislative conference in Cambridge. One of the highlights for me was a workshop I attended about walkable and bikeable communities. And I know we have here in the city a bike path master plan. I'm probably not saying exactly correct. Bike master plan. And I thought during the whole presentation, I did bring a book, a publication that's produced by one of our state agencies to encourage biking and bike paths. Regarding our master plan and whether or not it's been updated, any plans to do anything like that, we don't have to respond to that now, but it's something I would imagine we should consider. I've talked to a number of people who are bike enthusiasts around the city, and they're very anxious to see, if possible, any extensions of any of the bike paths or new ones created around the city. So I just wanted to mention that. And that'll be my report. Mayor Mo?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple things. First, tonight we had my time with the mayor at the Department of Park and Recreation's facility. We did have several people attend. One in particular was very excited and wanted to thank Mayor and City Council for the work on the organic recycling. Very happy about that. and want us to move forward with even more. So it was nice to hear those comments. I did have the opportunity to attend the retirement celebration of Principal Dwayne Jones of the Laurel High School. Thank our council president was there, Councilman Member Nicholas and Les, and it was very nice to represent the city and present Dwayne with the citation and a key to the city. So I appreciate all the work and partnership that he has done over the years with us. Thanks to the Business Board of Trade for the Riverfest and all the city support staff that were there and all the volunteers, quite frankly, that were there. It was a good day. I think well attended, and we appreciate all their work and their partnership as well. I did have the opportunity to attend the Middletown Towers Apartments, what we're calling the Mobile Mayor, where we're trying to get in and talk to those within the apartment complexes to let them know that they are city residents and the different things that are available to them as residents. So had a very good discussion over at Middletown and was very happy with the turnout there. We look forward to going back as well. As also did have the opportunity to attend the meet and greet with State's Attorney Braveboy in Upper Marlboro, and we want to thank her for all the work that she's doing and reaching out to the municipalities. We did have our annual walk day on October the 2nd. I want to thank all of the those that came out and participated. It was one of the hottest days of the year, but we made it through and a good time, and I think everybody enjoyed themselves. We didn't overdo it, and again, I guess there were probably about 35 people there, so it was real pleased with that. The Laurel Volunteer Fire Department open house, appreciate the invitation to that as well. Excuse me, they did have their annual banquet. I want to congratulate all of the awarded recipients, but in particular, Jim Cota spoke, is the Deputy Fire Chief, received the top honor as Firefighter of the Year. It's chosen by the membership. The award is presented on behalf of the Mayor and City Council, and Jimmy's a fine individual. He's somebody that can be looked up to, the younger firefighters that are there, and EMS personnel, and I was very, very happy for Jimmy to receive that award. As you also heard, Richard Blankenship and Mike Sellner received 50 years of service. For those that may not know or listening, Richard Blankenship works for the city back in code enforcement, and 50 years is a long time to be active in that organization, and want to congratulate them both for their 50 years of service. Jeanette Lovell was the first to receive a lifetime membership of 25 years active service with the Laurel Fire Department, the first woman who is actively riding apparatus and been doing it for 25 years, so congratulations to her as well. McGowan and Cecil, I do want to thank them and other members of the council I know that were there at they host a day at the races. They're great partners here in the city, work very hard with us on Main Street doing things, and I appreciate the invitation to be with them. The other night, Anne Arundel County Executive Stu Pittman, we did have a conversation regarding what is taking place at Laurel Park. I want to make something very clear that there's two different projects. One is the reconstruction of the Laurel Park. The other is a development that will, again, I'm very concerned of where all that's going to go. That is on the Howard County side. So we're trying to make sure we watch the train station stop and other things as these things move forward. But I appreciate the exec's office reaching out to me and asking me to be part of their program and presentation. So it was good just to be there and see all the different people and the questions. Do want to thank and acknowledge the Laurel Board of Trade as well for their candidates forum last night. I thought it was very well attended and a lot of good questions, and again, appreciate their work in doing that. I want to let everybody know on October the 19th from 8 a.m. until 12 noon, it's our electronics recycling and paper shredding event. That's down at the Farrell Foundry Public Works Complex down on 1st Street. Make sure you have identification that you live in the city of Laurel. This is we get a lot of turnout for this, and it's your opportunity to bring those old computers and electronics and televisions, and if you have things that need to be shredded. So from 8 until 12 on the 19th, this Saturday. On October the 24th, from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. is Trick or Treat on Main Street. We encourage everyone to be very careful. That is one of the biggest events, I think, besides the Main Street Festival, that brings a lot of people on that street. And the business community really does a wonderful job, but we want everybody to be very careful. And we've got a plan in place to make sure we keep people safe as well. On October the 25th at 10 a.m., the Women's Business Appreciation Breakfast, hosted by the Department of Economic and Community Development, will be right here in the council chambers. If you're interested, Christian, should they call your office or just... You can just contact the Department of Economic and Community Development, and they'll make sure you get on the list. Halloween on Spooktacular is on October the 26th. That is another great event. It's still hosted by the Department of Park and Recs and the Laurel Lions Club. Well attended. Get there because it moves quick. At 2 p.m. on October the 26th. And October the 31st, we've set the hours for Trick or Treat in the city of Laurel from 6 p.m. till 8 p.m. And Mr. President, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll move to agenda item 4A. Members of the public are asked to sign this is a public hearing. Members of the public are asked to sign the speaker list at the back of the council chambers. Council President calls the speakers from the sign-in sheet. Each speaker is asked to give their name and address for the record. Each speaker is allowed 3 minutes to speak. We have no one signed up to speak tonight. Is there anyone who would like to speak? I'll open and close the general public hearing at 7:23. Agenda item 5A is a consideration of a bid recommendation for the purchase of a 2.5-ton dump truck with plow by the Department of Public Works. Mr. Curry, good evening.
Yes, good evening. As discussed at the work session, Department of Public Works has put together a request to purchase a 2.5-ton 4x4 dump truck with a snow plow. The purchase of this dump truck is scheduled in the replacement program for 2020, and it will not increase the fleet. We reached out to a number of vendors, and Apple Ford had the Montgomery County contract for the purchase of this piece of equipment, and it actually runs $68,145.70.
Thank you, Mr. Free. Council, as Mr. Free mentioned, we discussed this at our work session. What's your pleasure?
Move for approval, Mr.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Is there a second? Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. Les?
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas?
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt?
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor?
Yes.
President Smalls?
I vote yes. Agenda item 5B, consideration of a recommendation for the purchase of a leaf machine for the Department of Public Works. 3.
Again, as discussed at the work session, Public Works had reached out and inquired about getting a replacement leaf machine for an aging one that we can no longer even get parts for, and it was in the replacement program, and this will not increase the fleet. Grand Turk Equipment Company had a government contract, and the cost of the leaf machine is $64,246.
Thank you, Mr. Faree. Again, Council, this was discussed at our most recent work session. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion to purchase a leaf machine, Mr. President.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nicholas. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Rao, please call for the vote.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes. Agenda item 5C is consideration of a recommendation to award a contract for hazard mitigation services for the Office of Emergency Management. Mr. Allen.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor, and council members. As discussed at the work session on October the 2nd, this is a recommendation to approve a contract for Ralston Solutions. They provide a wide variety of hazardous mitigation areas with this city. They're currently involved with 5 major areas, 2 of their current grants through FEMA and MEMA that we're currently working on. The River Gate project, which is a new project that we're working on, the conversion of our generators from diesel to natural gas, and of course they provide us resources when we're looking into any other type of grants that are available. They have been very successful in getting us approved grants, and they have served us very successfully for the last 2 years. They're again recommending that we approve this contract.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Council, as we all know, Mr. Allen provided a great deal of detail at our work session regarding this agenda item. What's your pleasure?
I'll make a recommendation. We award a contract for hazard mitigation services for the Office of Emergency Management.
Thank you, Councilman DeWalt. Is there a second?
A second, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Sidnor. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes.
Thank you very much.
Agenda item 5D, consideration of a bid recommendation for fiber construction along Van Dusen Road. SciTech Inc., Department of Information Technology. Mr. Lau.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mayor, council members. This bid recommendation is for a fiber run on Van Dusen Road. This fiber run will be part of the strategic plan to replace Comcast fiber with city-owned fiber. This segment will run from Van Dusen Road and 198 to Cherry Lane at the firehouse. The cost of the project is being shared between Prince George's County and the city, and the facilities will be shared between the 2 government entities. Upon completion, connections will be made to the Bruce Morley Dog Playground and to the Leo Wilson Community Park. In those areas, we'll be able to begin security services, cameras at both parks, also control the access to the dog park, provide public Wi-Fi access. We'll also be able to include 3 traffic signals along Van Dusen Road that can be monitored separately for trouble and for monitoring the traffic cameras. This will also provide a connection to the firehouse for continuity of operations. The firehouse is a site for disaster preparedness, and we could locate city operations there in the event of emergency. The contract vehicle is the Prince George's County Consulting and Technical Services contract. The vendor is SciTech in Largo, Maryland. We recommend that the council award SciTech Inc. of Largo, Maryland, the Van Dusen Road Fiber Construction Project for the Prince George's County, Maryland contract price of $142,826.94.
Thank you, Mr. Lau. What's the pleasure of the council?
Move for approval, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Les. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Rao, please call the roll.
Mr. Les,
Yes.
Ms. Nicholas,
Yes.
Mr. DeWalt,
Yes.
Mr. Sidnor,
Yes.
President Smalls.
I vote yes. Agenda item 6A is introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1947, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to amend the Laurel City Code to add Chapter 13, Telecommunications, to allow for the regulation of wired and wireless telecommunication within the city, and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. I'll open the public hearing at 7:31. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:31. A second public hearing and possible action will be held on. Thank you. Monday, October 28th.
7 p.m.
At 7 p.m. Thank you. Agenda item 6B is introduction to first public hearing on ordinance number 1948, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland, to amend the City of Laurel Unified Land Development Code by removing ordinance number 1933 from Chapter 20, Land Development and Subdivision, Article 6A, telecommunications facilities in public right-of-ways, and to amend the Laurel City Code by placing said ordinance in the Laurel City Code, Chapter 13, Telecommunications, and providing an effective date. I've read the title into the record for the first reading. I will open the public hearing at 7:32. I have no one signed up to speak on this item. Is there anyone who'd like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:32. The second public hearing with possible action will be held on Monday, October 28th at 7 p.m.
Mr. President, could I ask Mr. Lau one question, please, concerning this?
Yes.
Brian, the telecommunications facilities in private right-of-ways, we're talking about a telephone pole here and a telephone pole here, and the wire going between the telephone poles is the public telecommunications facilities in the public right-of-way, correct?
This relates to the small cell franchise?
Yes.
The small cell operation?
Correct.
And this would be locating receivers and the hardware and the equipment to mount the transceivers on the telephone poles.
On the telephone poles. So is the public right-of-way in between those two poles too, where the wires run back and forth at each other?
As I understand, the public right-of-way is the area on the sidewalk or the side of the street where the access has been granted to that is the property of the municipality that is granted to the vendors.
Okay, so the area between the two telephone poles with the wire running across there, is there a certain footage that we have to maintain between those two?
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Well, are you asking about the actual public right-of-way?
Yes, the public right-of-way for the telecommunications facility.
So if it's our public right-of-way, we have a responsibility maintaining that. If it's when you go up Sandy Spring Road, some of that, may have been turned over, but some of that used to be the county's, but they still maintain the right-of-way. So they should be required to maintain that and keep that in proper order.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking to, if there's a section like that in between those two poles, then we're responsible for maintaining that small section between the two poles.
I'm not really sure.
If
If
it's in our right-of-way, we have.
So if there's trees growing up there, coming up to the wires, if there's trash or anything along that section, we're going to have to maintain it and keep it clear, correct?
Yeah. So the trees, just so we're clear, because we were talking about this morning, we won't do the trees. We have to call in BGE to do trees, and I'm sure it's going to be similar to the same thing if wires are hanging from the 5G. The issue with the 5G, I think, is going to be the biggest issue I have concerns is if they do the poles as was said, at the historical district in the right of way, and then they have the big boxes until such time as they start getting smaller. It could be several years.
I took a picture of one in Ocean City that, because they have to be within 1,000 feet or something of each other, that Ocean City, there's a certain section there that they had to put their own pole up. And the boxes on them weren't bad at all. But then there's other letters that you get showing these big old gaudy boxes that some jurisdictions have put on these poles because they need more power. But with the 1,000-foot, I think the boxes can be fairly small from what Ocean City had.
In fact, they got them on the boardwalk.
Yes. Thank you, Brian.
Moving on, we'll, agenda item 6C, introduction and first public hearing on ordinance number 1949, an ordinance of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 3, Officers and Employees, Section 2-41C, Retirement Board of Trustees, Membership, Term, Removal of the City of Laurel, Maryland, Code to allow for the selection of a vice chair for the Retirement Board of Trustees and providing an effective date. I read the title into the record. For the first reading, I'll open the public hearing at 7:37. I have no one signed up to speak. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this agenda item? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:37. Second public hearing with possible action will be held on Monday, October 28th, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m. Agenda item 6D, introduction and first public hearing on resolution number 8-19, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of Laurel, Maryland for the purpose of opposing an increase in truck weight and size. I read the title into the record for the first reading. I'll open the public hearing at 7:38. I have no one signed up to speak on this agenda item. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing no one, I'll close the public hearing at 7:38. A second public hearing with possible action will be held on Monday, October 28th, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m. Is there any other business to come before the Mayor and City Council? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned. Thank you.